Today we're going to be working on tile making. You're going to need a fettling knife, a needle tool, a ruler, and a good size amount of clay. You are going to put your thumbs together and wrap around the clay using the palms of your hands. You're going to push down, and as you can see, I'm slightly spinning the clay as I push down in with my hands. And you're going to do this about 50 times is a good amount, just to make sure there's no air bubbles in your clay. Another trick that I know is you can take a water spray bottle and you can spritz the surface that you're working on so that your clay doesn't dry out, because if the surface that the clay is on is wet, then it balances out the moisture in the clay. Should look like a little ET or like an alien is what I think of, if you're doing it correctly. Here I am just pounding the clay into a shape like a cylinder. Then I'm going to take the fettling knife, cut it in half, and check to see if there are any air bubbles. And once you find out that there are not, then you are going to rock back and forth on the clay on your surface and put it back together. I would continue wedging out the clay. You are then going to use the palm of your hand and use it as a paddle to paddle the clay down. Preferably, you can use a paddle, a wood or a canvas paddle, but in this case, I do not have that. You just want to shape it into as flat of a square or rectangle as you can. Make sure you continuously flip over the piece of clay as well so that you can paddle down both sides and get an even surface. Now what you're going to do is gently toss the clay down on the board where you're working, which is just going to stretch out the clay to the size that you're wanting. You don't need to be too harsh with this. You just want to make sure that you get the clay to the size that you're wanting. You can see as I go, the clay is stretching out. I'm also flipping it each time I do it to spread out evenly, and I'm also doing it horizontally and vertically to do the same thing. Now you can pick up the ruler and you're just going to want to make straight marks with your ruler and your needle tool to make the square or rectangle that you desire, and you want to use the needle tool softly because you're going to go in with the fettling knife afterwards and cut through. If you want your tile a certain height or width, then you can double check on your ruler, and if it's not big enough, then you can always keep stretching it out. Or add more clay and restart the process. Now I'm just going to take the fettling knife and cut all the way through. You don't have to press too hard because you don't want to damage your surface that you're working on. Just hard enough for it to go all the way through. If you need to cut a couple times through gently to make sure that you get those pieces off, then go for it. Once you get those sides off, you just want to take your finger and, if you need to, some water and smooth out all the edges that you want to your desired texture or sharpness. You can also reshape if you don't have the perfect rectangle that you want with your hands like I'm doing here, and just smooth out as much as you can. If your shape still isn't right for you, you can also take your fettling knife and just trim the edges very carefully. You don't want to damage your tile, but this can help with straighter edges and just to get any excess that you may have flattened down that you don't want anymore on your tile. To prepare your tile for the imagery or the textures that you're going to put on top, you can grab the red rib and just run it over top. You can wet your surface and just squeegee it down and smooth it out so you don't have a rough or uneven height or texture. This red rib tool is very flexible as well, so you can get whatever edge you're wanting. It can be a straight edge, or if you want to, it can easily curve your edge as well. Lastly, I would just check your edges to make sure they are at least a half an inch to an inch tall. And if not, then just remake it. Super simple. Thank you for watching.